To whom it may concern, I hope you can take some time to read this letter I am writing to you, and I am writing in bold capital letters to make it easier to read my letter. I would really like for you to read this. As I begin writing this, I am not certain of how long this will be. But if you cannot read it all in one shot because it is too long or something like that, then I understand if you will need to read it in portions. The way I write this, maybe you will be able to make marks wherever you need a pause to read this in portions in the event that I write a letter that's too long to read in one go. So, with all that all written before I proceed to the main content, I will also make a word to you that this letter is intended to give some type of picture regarding my mental illness and of the related. Perhaps I will be able to give the reader a picture of my condition and all that applies to it. So, with that, I hope to give a better understanding of my condition as well as to make an attempt to achieve and solve my inconvenience in a medical type of way without any harm done in any sort of way. And if I explain some things that seem irrelevant, I hope you understand that I'm trying to be relevant, even though I may not seem so. And I would also like to make a word to the reader before I begin this is that right now, as I am writing this, before and after and right now, I do not find myself a danger to myself or others in any type of way whatsoever. So I thought I would make this clear in a word to the reader if the reader in any event would wonder. So now I will begin this letter and continue with the subject of focus. Hi, I am writing this to provide knowledge of my condition to whomever it may concern, as well as in an attempt to solve my inconvenience. And as I write, I have so many different places where I can think of starting this letter, but I am having difficulty deciding where to start. The year right now is 2023, and I will begin to the beginning of when this started, which was in 2013. In 2013, I began to hear voices to a degree which seems to mark the beginning of my mental health system intake. So, from 2013 through 2023 makes 10 years. It has been approximately 10 years since my intake of the mental health system. And this whole entire time, and I would like to place emphasis on that this whole entire time since it began all the way back to where it started to this very moment right now, I do not believe it is a mental illness. My only problem is how do I prove that it is something digital? That has been my biggest struggle is to prove that it is not some disease, abnormality, chemical imbalance in my brain, anything like that, but that I honestly do believe that it is something digital. I seriously do. And like, there are some things I have been trying to explain to those in the healthcare system and affiliated with healthcare in regards to my condition that I seem to be experiencing extreme difficulty communicating that it's something digital. And this is a type of complaint. See, my condition, it shouldn't be a problem. It should be more of a luxury. According to my calculations, from my calculations, it should be a convenient luxury because I believe that was its primary focus was to be, I guess, fun. But ever since the year 2017, after having been discharged from a long-term stay at a mental health facility, hospital, if you want to call it that, psych ward, something like that, I'm not certain of what the proper term is. Anyways, I left that facility. I called it a facility, and my condition extremely worsened. I want to say because I found enemies at that facility that had only but the worst of intentions for me. I believe they hated me and they decided they would manipulate and use a foreign objective, the the digital nature of my condition that I honestly find to be digital. They believed they could take authority of my digital nature and use it for an objective that they found suitable, as difficult as hard as that is to believe. Extremely. And that plays a role in my complaint. And my physical health was also not the same. You see, I have a hard time getting people to believe me because they just find it very hard to believe that such things exist. But they do, kind of like out of a movie, but then real life. See, not all movies are fiction. Some of that stuff is nonfiction. See, I explain to healthcare and others my experiences, and they refuse to believe that these things I'm about to write exist. I will begin with now my physical health was affected. Well, this might sound kind of awkward, but a point on the crown of my head, like where a hat would go, well, where a hat would go, somewhere there, I now have a scar as well as a new abnormality type of bump there that was not always there, that I suspect was from some type of injury. I honestly suspect that it was from some type of injury and it is there. And I is and it is a little tender to the touch, as in when pressure is applied to it. Okay, now that is one thing I wanted to make clear. And I will reveal to the reader that as I write this, it is like as if my fingers cannot keep up with the picture I'm trying to paint to you, the reader, but I am doing my best and I will do my best. So, anyways, I will proceed, and I feel I should include dates. I also feel I may expose some people by exposing this, but I'm trying my best for reasons, a list of reasons to not expose people, not reasons I keep to myself and not to the reader. So I hope that in not exposing some people, places, and things, I could still hopefully be understood and that you can still add credibility to my testimony and of the nature. Well, the injury to the hat area of my head happened in 2017. That is when that happened, and the year is 2023. So, about 6 years later, and the reader might say, oh, that could have been from an accident. Oh, you could have done it to yourself in an incorrect state of mind, etc. But I seriously doubt that it was an accident and that I was in an incorrect state of mind. I have no memory of such thing. And the reason I did not bring attention to the incident at the time of the occurrence was out of fear. You see, I should make something clear right now as I write. I fear my condition because I believe it involves individuals and participants of organizations that have the ability to inflict damage in many areas of my life. I am not calling it schizophrenia because I don't think it is schizophrenia. I call it a condition. But if the reader wants to call it a mental illness, by all means. The only thing I would say on behalf of my own testimony is that I strongly believe that it is foul play slash digital elements that are very hard to expose due to its very hard nature to detect slash expose. I believe this is some super undercover stuff that involves people in high places. I believe this involves some important people, some people with a lot of finances at their disposal, people and individuals that make up an organization slash are part of an organization of very smart, discreet individuals. And I have no intent on exposing them unless I must to solve my inconvenience. I really believe this, and I am not certain if you will share my views at the end of this letter, but maybe you will. My goal in this letter is to hopefully find some way to solve the inconvenience of my condition from a medical standpoint. So the reader and I will need to see what can be accomplished by me writing this and the reader reading this.